So now I want to go ahead and we talked a little bit about defense. So I want to talk about the best defensive player in the NFL, Myles Garrett, and the Browns. There was a little snapshot, a video, or it was a clip of Myles Garrett on the sideline. He was really frustrated. He took off his helmet, threw it on the ground. And when I saw that, it made me think that he originally did not want to stay with the Browns. But then they offered him $160 million on the contract, and he signed it and decided to stay. So he doesn't seem happy with his decision. And there's a lot you can say. I mean, you're never happy when you're losing, no matter how much you're being compensated. But you got to look at him and you got to wonder, would he trade a smaller contract to be on a team that could win games? Because when you sack a team, when you get 5 sacks in a game, that's some of the most sacks in NFL history for one game. I don't think that's quite the record, but it's close. And at the end of that game, you're spiking your helmet on the ground. You're not happy at all. You got to wonder, would he trade that contract for a smaller one to be on a team that could be a playoff contender? And it might not have even been much of a sacrifice money-wise. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson just got a bigger contract. I think Myles Garrett is better than Aiden Hutchinson. Not by a lot, but I think he is better. So I just think there's an interesting big picture thing to take away from Myles Garrett, which is, for superstar athletes, eventually, how much money can you have before it's a diminishing returns type deal? All right, after you've already had a mega contract, would you take a huge contract to stay on a bad team? I think a lot of us just say, yeah, I'd take the money, but that's because we don't have the kind of mega contract. So if you're a player like Myles Garrett, where you're going to be a Hall of Famer, at what point does being able to be on a team that wins matter to you? Because you've got more money than you could ever spend in a lifetime. So at what point is it going to be worth it for you to lock up your first ballot Hall of Famer status? Build a legacy of being on a winning team, being happy during the regular season because you're not getting your teeth kicked in every week, and be able to go down as like one of the all-time greats. Like, when is it worth taking $140 million instead of $160 million so that you could potentially be considered like one of the 3 best players ever at your position? I don't know. But I think that's an interesting question to ask, an interesting takeaway from seeing how Myles Garrett's attitude has been this season. He doesn't seem like a guy who's getting paid $160 million. He just seems like a guy who's on a terrible team and doesn't feel like there's anything he can do about it. So you got to wonder if he's ever going to try to be traded. That contract is going to be hard to trade, but he's so good that I think there are teams that would do it. And honestly, it would probably be better for the Browns to trade him. I mean, Quinion, what was it? Was it Quinion Mitchell on the Jets? Let me look this up real quick. He went for, I mean, it was crazy. He went for a few first round. He went for a first round pick, I think a second round pick. Yeah, Quinnen Williams. It was Quinnen Williams. Let's see what he went for. But okay, so it looks like he was traded. Okay, so a second round pick, and a first round pick, and then Mozzie Smith. All right, if that's what Quinnen Williams goes for, then what do you think Myles Garrett would go for? 2 first and a second, at least. You're not getting out of there for less than kind of a 3 first round pick value, even with the contract. He is just such a game breaker. So you got to wonder how much longer he will be with the Browns. And maybe at this point, a split would be better for all parties involved. So I just think it's just the eternal question of how much money is enough. Eventually, how much money do you sacrifice your happiness for before it's time to try to go win?